Popular social media influencer and commentator Andrew Tate has officially been released from Romanian prison after nearly 3 months of confinement. He has been released onto house arrest finally after, as I said before, 3 months of being imprisoned. Of course, this was a political attack by any means. It was completely unfounded. There was no real evidence to this case at any point. Some of the women that were involved in the case that were listed as victims came out and said that they had very good relations with the Tate brothers and that they had done nothing wrong at any point. However, the Romanian government did not care and continued to keep him locked up despite the obvious corruption behind this attack. Andrew Tate, while I don't agree with him on everything, and I think that he has some very degenerate positions, especially on relationships, he of course promotes all kinds of degeneracy, such as sleeping around, having a bunch of wives, po- polygamy, all kinds of not so great stuff. He also has done a lot of good. All right. This guy has really changed a generation of young men. He's made a lot of guys stronger. He's inspired them to get to the gym. He's inspired them to become better men, become stronger, become mentally focused, to leave many distractions behind. He's done many great things, and that's why they went after him. He was a great masculine influence for a generation of boys who mostly either didn't have father figures in their homes or they had very weak masculine influences. This is literally a generation that was raised through a public school system, and look at the teachers. Your average teacher is an obese woman who is very unfeminine and is a terrible role model. And if it's not a woman, more than likely it's a obese feminine man. Very few teachers have something you can really look up to. Some of them do. There are some great teachers out there. Obviously, there are exceptions to every rule. There are exceptions to just about everything. But the average teacher was a terrible influence, and that's where many of these young boys, those were the influences, and that's why you see our generation coming out so messed up. We were raised through a school system that gave us nothing to truly look up to and nothing to be inspired by. But Andrew Tate inspired a movement which really switched that. He reversed a lot of negativity that was present in our generation. As I said before, he inspired many, many young men to become masculine again. He was doing good things for the movement in general, the conservative movement. He was really making a big change, and they noticed this. They saw him as a legitimate threat to the system, someone who was legitimately threatening the way things were done, the way that things were carried out. So they locked him up. They tried to tarnish his name. Of course, this never works because people don't buy it anymore, and it only strengthened people's perception that the Matrix, quote unquote, was coming after him. So it really just boosted him in popularity. So they tried to keep him in for 3 months, try to decrease some of his traction, decrease his momentum. But eventually it's starting to get to the point where it's just becoming ridiculous, and it seems that he had a judge hear him today that actually had some honor and released him onto house arrest. Of course, he won't be found guilty in all of this. There just isn't any evidence. There's evidence that he did nothing. There's lots of evidence out there. And the fact that literal victims of the case came out and said that they weren't victims really just shows how faulty this entire case was from the start and how this was totally a political arrest. It was not much different than the Trump arrest we're seeing happening in current time right now. And like I said before, yeah, political attack. And now he's finally released. He can get back to the movement. Hopefully, it hasn't been too destroyed. Hopefully, he hasn't lost too much momentum. I truly believe he'll come back stronger than ever before. As I said before, these things, these arrests, oftentimes just end up proving what most of his followers already believed about him being a real threat to the system, and it makes even more people want to start joining him. One thing that I find really interesting about the modern day conservative movement, and I've talked about this before, is that they like to go after people on our side for minor things because they're not living exactly the lifestyle that they would like. So we've really recently seen a mainstream conservative attack on the Tate brothers and Andrew Tate specifically. And why is this? Because he doesn't really fit the normal conservative mold. Why? Because, like I said before, he promotes some degeneracy. But what we need to start doing as the conservative movement, this is why we lose to the left so often, we need to start helping each other out. We got to start promoting each other. We got to start being like, hey, you know what? I disagree with this one choice, but I can see this guy is big enough of a net positive to the overall movement that we're going to keep him around. And we are going to support him and back this guy. So when this man was arrested and couldn't defend himself, when you see the Daily Wire specifically really targeting on clips from years ago that were clearly satire, they would target clips of Tate saying satirical things that were made him look not so smart, and some of the things that made him look degenerate because he does have some degenerate principles. They would go after those and they'd push those onto the movement and then make more conservatives against this guy and really destroy a lot of his good messaging as well and make people really turn against him. And that's the problem with the conservative movement. We go after guys on our own team, guys that are net positives. We take each other out, and then we don't have enough unity, and then the left comes in and beats our divided party because they have a very strong unity. They have all these vote blue voters. They have all these people that, sure, a lot of them really disagree with each other on a lot of issues. A lot of them really don't have that much in common because as you see more extremists, more of the younger people come into the movement, you see some of the older guys that are like, hey, you know what, I'm not a big fan of this. But they don't say that publicly. They know it will hurt the movement overall and they want to win. They actually care about winning more than anything else. They don't care about their principles as much as they care about winning because your principles don't matter if you lose because then you lose all of your principles instead of having to, you know what, say, I will fold a little bit on this, even though I won't promote what he's saying on this one specific issue, I will fold and say, you know what, this guy's still a net positive. Instead of them doing that, right, they just, we as conservatives specifically, we just kind of attack each other, right? And it takes away from our own movement, and then we lose on every principle instead of just a few. None of it really matters if we keep losing. So we have to start backing this guy and we have to start backing other people that we may have some disagreements with that may not be completely conservative, but if they're a positive for the movement, we have to recognize that and stop attacking our own people because it's only hurting us in the long run. And this is why even the 2024 election, the more I look into it, the more it seems nearly unwinnable because we have a divided party that can't get behind each other. We can't support each other. We are designed to lose. The current Republican system is literally designed to lose. We were made to lose. We were never meant to win this. And the theater, that show of politics, we weren't the party that was supposed to win. So, really, what we have to do is escape that theater, start supporting each other, stop going with this mainstream idea of conservatism, and we need to win together and take back this country and reject the theater that we have been thrown into. That, as I said before, was designed for us to lose because it's no good. But yeah, Andrew Tate, he's been released, so that's good for the movement. We need to get behind him. And that goes for Tristian as well. I personally find him a lot more interesting than Andrew himself. He's much less degenerate, it seems. He's a Christian. Tate's a Muslim. He's a better for the conservative movement. He's a better representation. He seems calmer. He seems like he gets it more. I feel like he has a better understanding of everything going on. I really respect the guy, and we got to get behind him more. Obviously Tate's the main guy that we all point towards because he's more popular, gets more interest from the common man, gets more interest from the public, but Tristian is probably much better for the movement, to be completely honest. So keep supporting him as well. Keep supporting Tate, and we gotta not allow and not go against our own guys when they get thrown into jail on these bogus calls. And this is no different than what's happening to Trump right now, and I feel like we're going to start seeing it a lot more often because this is something that has been unheard of in the Western world, at least. In the free world, we didn't really lock up the most important political pawns of the movement. That was kind of rare. You didn't see these big, giant voices getting locked up, and now you see the former president and the biggest threat to the current Democratic administration and the most likely Republican candidate. We see him in the middle of a very likely arrest situation going on right now, and he's already been indicted. And then you see Andrew Tate, the most popular man of the current movement, one of the most popular men in history. You see him get locked up too. It's a giant change in the old style of political discourse, and we need to recognize that. And that's why we really need to start backing our guys to escape the current system so that we stop losing so much. But you know what? If you care more about your principles and you're willing to give everything up so that you don't have to support him and you're willing to lose to the Democrats where they can trans your kids and then they can go support school shooters when they go take out little Christian kids at a Christian school, then go ahead. Uh, go against these guys, go against people who you may minorly disagree with, and support their unrightful and completely bogus arrests. But you know what? If you actually want to win, if you want to be on our side when we take back this country, start supporting these guys. But if you did enjoy the video, go ahead, like, subscribe, share it. I greatly appreciate it. Really helps me out, and the only way we're going to win this is by fighting and sticking together. So, yeah, go ahead, subscribe. But I am going to head out on that note. So long, peace out, and God bless y'all.